The world was shaken to its core today as news broke that Yandy Smith, the iconic star of love and hip-hop, was involved in a devastating car crash, one that has left her fighting for her life. Fans across the globe are in disbelief as reports flood in that Yandy's condition is so severe. Doctors are warning her chances of survival are slim. But it doesn't stop there. What happened after the crash has left even her closest friends and family in complete chaos. Mendeecees, the man who once promised to stand by her side, was seen in tears as he rushed to the hospital. But no one expected the bombshell revelations that surfaced in the hours following the incident. Was this just a tragic accident, or is there more to the story? What dark secrets and bitter rivalries could have led to this shocking turn of events? Yandy's fans are stunned. Her family is torn apart, and the drama surrounding her crash is far from over. Hold tight, because everything is about to change. The crash that changed everything. News of Yandy Smith's car accident spread like wildfire, igniting social media with an intensity no one saw coming. Initial reports were vague, just whispers of a crash on Beaufort Highway, leaving one person critically injured. But as details emerged, the horrifying truth became clear. Yandy, the fearless and bold queen of reality TV, was lying in a hospital bed, clinging to life. Witnesses say her car was traveling at an alarming speed before veering off the road and slamming into a concrete barrier. Screeching tires, a sickening thud, and then silence. By the time emergency services arrived, it was almost too late. Yandy was unconscious, suffering from severe head trauma and multiple fractures. But the real shock came when doctors revealed the full extent of her injuries. A family in crisis. Mendeecees received the dreaded call no spouse ever wants to hear. The moment he heard the news, his world shattered. He rushed to the hospital, mind racing, hands trembling, but what greeted him wasn't just grief. It was tension that had been bubbling under the surface for months. Unresolved conflicts, emotional distance, past demons. It all came crashing down. The hospital's sterile hallways did little to ease the chaos. As he entered her room, he saw Yandy bruised, swollen, and hooked up to machines. The woman he'd built a life with was on the brink of death. Tears welled in his eyes as he stood by her side, wondering, was this fate or something far more sinister? Family fractures erupt. Back home, the situation was no better. Yandy's mother, siblings, and close friends had rushed to her side, but not everyone was on the same page. Her mother, strong-willed and outspoken, immediately took control of the room. But instead of comforting her daughter's husband, she pointed fingers. "You think you're the hero? She's fighting for her life, and you're over there crying like it's your fault." Her words were sharp, cold, full of resentment. Mendeecees tried to remain composed, but the air was thick with blame. Her brother Devin wasn't any kinder. "Don't think you're gonna play the victim now. She's been dealing with your nonsense for years, and now this happens?" The accusations were brutal, unrelenting. All he wanted was to be by Yandy's side. But the mistrust and judgment made it nearly impossible. The internet explodes with conspiracy. Meanwhile, social media spiraled into overdrive. While many fans expressed heartbreak and support, others began speculating. Was this crash really an accident? Or was foul play involved? Rumors spread like wildfire. One viral theory suggested Yandy was intentionally speeding, trying to escape from someone or something. Others claimed Mendeecees may have played a role. Was the pressure from their turbulent relationship too much? Could it be that Mendeecees isn't the supportive husband we thought he was? One post read, theories stacked up, each more twisted than the last. Whispers of emotional breakdowns, secret enemies, even suggestions that someone had sabotaged her car. A shocking message changes everything, but just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, everything changed. As Mendeecees sat by Yandy's side, his phone buzzed. A cryptic message from an unknown number. It read like a warning, like a clue. Someone claimed to know the truth behind the crash. According to the message, a third party had orchestrated the accident. Someone with a deep, personal vendetta against Yandy. Mendeecees froze. His blood ran cold. Could it be true? Was this no accident at all? He was left with more questions than answers, and a gnawing feeling in his gut that he was only beginning to uncover the darkness behind it all. Chaos in the waiting room as the hours dragged on. The tension in the waiting room reached a boiling point. Devin had taken control, insisting that Mendeecees have no say in Yandy's medical care. His resentment had been simmering for years, and now it was erupting. Why are we even letting him decide anything? He's been a liability in her life from the start. The family was split. Some agreed. Others stayed silent, afraid to make things worse. Yandy's mother didn't hold back either. You can't even keep her safe from your own past, and now she's fighting for her life. You think you're some kind of savior? Mendeecees stood frozen. The weight of the judgment. The eyes on him. The whispers behind his back. All he wanted was to hold Yandy's hand and tell her she'd be okay. But in that moment, he never felt more alone. What happens next? The mystery of Yandy Smith's crash continues to unfold. Was it truly an accident, or was something far more sinister involved? What secrets were buried beneath her seemingly glamorous life? One thing's for sure, her story is far from over. And the truth behind what happened on that fateful day may change everything we thought we knew about her and about those closest to her. His side, they were the ones turning against him. But just as Mendeecees was about to defend himself, something even more shocking happened. Yandy's best friend, Tasha, stormed into the waiting room, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. She rushed toward Mendeecees, ignoring everyone else in the room. "I know what's going on," Tasha whispered urgently, her voice shaking. Mendeecees leaned in, eager to hear what she had to say. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice tense. "I know who did this," she replied, her words hanging in the air like a bombshell ready to explode. "It wasn't an accident, Mendeecees. Yandy was targeted." The revelation sent a chill down his spine. He grabbed her arm, desperate to learn more. "Who would want to hurt her?" he demanded, his heart racing. Tasha glanced nervously around the room, ensuring no one was listening. "You have to be careful. There's someone in her past who holds a serious grudge against her, someone who wants to see her fall." Mendeecees' mind began to race. Who could have wanted to hurt Yandy? They'd been through so much together, and he knew her like the back of his hand. But even he couldn't deny that she had made enemies over the years, ruthless people from her past, jealous rivals who had always resented her success. But to think one of them would go this far? It was too much to comprehend. "I have to find out who did this. I need answers," he said through gritted teeth, his voice filled with determination. As Tasha and Mendeecees exchanged whispers, the rest of the family continued their emotional outburst. Yandy's mother, now more enraged than ever, turned her attention to him, her voice dripping with venom. "Don't think you can just walk in here acting like you're going to save her. You fail her over and over, and now you think you're going to be the one to pull her through this?" She spat, glaring at him with years of suppressed resentment. "We don't need you here. You're just another reminder of her mistakes." Mendeecees had had enough. "I'm the one here by her side. I'm the one who's going to be here when she wakes up, if she wakes up.
Not you.
Not anyone else. It's me." The emotion in his voice was raw. The family members fell silent for a moment, reflecting on his words. But despite Mendeecees' attempt to stand his ground, the fractures within the family were more visible than ever. The walls were closing in on him. Yandy's mother, who had always disliked him, now stood as an impenetrable barrier between him and the woman he loved. The pressure was mounting, and with every passing minute, the tension in the room only intensified. As Mendeecees struggled to keep it together, Tasha's message weighed heavily on him. He couldn't help but wonder, was there really someone from Yandy's past who wanted to see her destroyed? Who could have orchestrated such a cruel and calculated act? What did they have to gain from Yandy's downfall? It wasn't long before Mendeecees was forced to confront the darker aspects of his wife's life. Her rise to fame had not been easy. Yandy had battled jealousy, betrayal, and ruthless competition to get where she was. She had made enemies, some of them incredibly dangerous. But who would go so far as to intentionally harm her? The puzzle pieces were starting to fall into place, and Mendeecees knew he had to dig deeper. The clock was ticking, and if Yandy had any chance of surviving, he needed to uncover the truth. But just as he set out to find answers, the family drama reached new heights. Yandy's mother, still furious, confronted him again, this time with a shocking revelation of her own. "You think you know everything about her? You think you know what's best for her? Well, I have a secret of my own, Mendeecees, one you won't believe." The words hung in the air like a bomb ready to explode. Mendeecees' mind raced with questions. Yandy's mother, seething with anger, leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You really think you can solve all of this? You don't know the half of it, Mendeecees. There's so much you don't understand about Yandy, about the things she's kept hidden from everyone. Even you." The words cut through the tension in the room like a knife, leaving Mendeecees frozen. He had always believed that he and Yandy shared everything, that their bond was unbreakable. But now, her mother's words shattered that illusion. What do you mean? He demanded, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and desperation. What are you talking about? What do you know that I don't? Yandy's mother crossed her arms and stared at him coldly. You think her life has been all rainbows and butterflies? That she hasn't made mistakes? I'm telling you, Yandy has a dark past. Things that would destroy everything you think you know about her. And someone out there is using that past against her. The revelation hit Mendeecees like a ton of bricks. He had always known that Yandy had a complex history, but he never imagined it could come back to haunt her in such a devastating way. Was the car crash really just an accident? Or was it a deliberate act of revenge? Who would do this to her? Mendeecees asked, his voice rising with frustration. Yandy's mother sighed heavily, clearly torn between wanting to protect her daughter and revealing the painful truth. You think you can handle it? There's someone close to us, someone from Yandy's past who has been plotting against her for years. Someone who knew exactly how to hurt her. And now they've done it. The words struck Mendeecees like a thunderbolt. The realization was overwhelming, but he couldn't back down now. Who is it? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. For a moment, there was only silence. Yandy's mother looked around the room, making sure no one else was listening. It's Tasha, she finally said, her voice trembling with the weight of her words. The name hit Mendeecees like a punch to the gut. Tasha, his wife's best friend. The one person he had trusted more than anyone else. Could it really be her? The shock was so intense he couldn't speak for a moment. His mind reeled as the world around him seemed to collapse. That's impossible, he muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. Tasha would never do something like that. But Yandy's mother was insistent. You don't know her the way I do. I've seen the way she looks at Yandy. The jealousy. The resentment. It's been there for years, simmering beneath the surface. She's been waiting for the right moment to strike. And now she has. Mendeecees was stunned. He couldn't process the information. Tasha had always been a part of their lives, someone who had been there for both of them through thick and thin. But as the pieces began to fall into place, he couldn't deny that something wasn't right. The way Tasha had whispered to him earlier, her strange behavior, all started to make sense. She had been the one who warned him about the crash, but could that have been a way to cover her tracks? With his heart pounding in his chest, Mendeecees stormed out of the waiting room, his mind racing with fury. He needed answers. He needed to confront Tasha and get to the bottom of this once and for all. He reached Yandy's hospital room where she lay unconscious, her face pale, her body hooked up to machines. He stood there for a moment, torn between the urge to protect her and the burning rage inside him. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation. He couldn't waste another second. The truth had to come out. Mendeecees turned and left the room, heading straight for Tasha's apartment. When he knocked on the door, his heart raced with anticipation. Would she confess to the betrayal or keep playing the victim? Tasha opened the door, visibly startled by the intensity in his eyes. What do you want? She asked, trying to hide the nervousness in her voice. I need to know the truth, Mendeecees said, his voice low and steady. Did you have something to do with Yandy's accident? For a moment, Tasha didn't speak. Her face flickered with emotion, fear, guilt, and something darker Mendeecees couldn't quite place. Finally, she spoke. Yes, she said, the word hanging in the air like a death sentence. Mendeecees stood frozen. The weight of her admission crashed down on him. Why? Why would you do this to her? To me? Tasha looked away, tears welling in her eyes. I never wanted it to go this far, she said, her voice breaking. But the jealousy, the rage, it consumed me. I couldn't stand watching Yandy have everything I ever wanted. I thought if I could take her down even just a little, I'd finally feel like I had control over my life. But I never imagined it would come to this. Her confession was like a punch to the gut. Mendeecees couldn't believe what he was hearing. The woman he had considered a friend, someone he had trusted, had betrayed them all. And now, Yandy's life hung in the balance. Nothing would ever be the same again. Good evening, everybody. I hope you are having a good Sunday, but come on in, come on in. So listen, y'all already know Yandy and Mendeecees have been going through it these past few months. They just cannot catch a break. First, we had Rashida and Kirk out here throwing shade, claiming Mendeecees has been cheating on his longtime girlfriend Yandy. And now I'm on Facebook minding my business, and I come across this post that says, okay, it's been a week and I held up my end of the deal. What deal was this? It goes on to say, just want y'all to know that a friend of mine was hanging out with Mendeecees and Rich Dollars on Sunday, and she sent me this photo. And yes, he was very flirty with a lot of women. And no, he was not wearing his ring. take that how you want. Ooh. Now here comes Tasha K claiming she's got receipts of Mendeecees cheating. She dropped a voice memo that's allegedly him, plus some screenshots of text messages between him and this so-called side chick. Now, these receipts are